Hi YouTube, this is Rose, and this video is Narcissist, Psychopath, Sociopath, Antisocial Behavior, Victim's Testimony. My name is Rose, and Sean and I will be your host in this roundtable discussion, and he will be sharing his testimony of his experience of being the victim of a narcissist. Also, we will be discussing some of the basics. So if you feel that you may be a victim of antisocial behavior relationship or situation, you're wondering what to do about it, I would really love for you to join us, and thank you so much for your time. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. This is a Voice for the Voiceless to Live production. Thank you so much, and I hope you are blessed.
We're really getting ready to, we say that we're going to launch our organization by the first of the year. So we want to get steps. So just let everybody know that, if you feel that you're a victim of a narcissist situation, or you feel like you're drowning in something and there's no escape, or you're feeling like you're crazy or something going on, please let us know if there's a situation. It might be something that we can look into. One thing that we're not about, though, we're not about like hearing about other people that are on YouTube that are doing something that you might disagree with, or just something that we might not know about. If there is anything that you feel that's very important and you think it's a narcissist situation that is bringing harm, and what I mean by bringing harm is leading people astray or abusing others by verbally abusing and calling people, horrible names, and just doing and you've looked up and researched about narcissism, and you can just see all evidence that is that, then please let us know, but also provide information for us, because in order for us to want to look into other situation, we need to have a background or some information on what we're looking into, and not just go in all cold turkey and not having any information at all.
And it can be anonymous.
Yeah, you can be anonymous, but we definitely need that, and definitely, and really, our heart really goes out to someone that is really a victim of a situation, or you have even children and victimized, and you have someone, and please research up, not just listen to us, but look into narcissist situations. And Rose, you might know some examples, since you've been studying up on some more. Would you be able to provide some examples of what
Yes.
characteristics and traits that would be, so that these victims that might
be the narcissist has a one of the main characteristics is they have that royalty worship me attitude. They never accept blame for anything or take responsibility for anything being their fault. They expect people to take their word for, like, oh, I'm the super duper woman that makes $50 million a day, without any proof, and gets upset because you don't believe them. Someone that has usually a characteristic of struggling with completion. Like we see that in Laura, for instance. There's never any completion. Nothing ever really is fulfilled. Nothing ever is really done. They do things with a vengeance. When they get on something, everything gets tuned out. They have no remorse or ability to feel compassion for others' needs. Usually the conversation will always begin and end with them, always being steered towards them and what they are doing, what they are about, what they have done for you, and what, how you should be, etc. Now, there's different ones that are very, a lot more covert. and harder to detect. But if you are in a relationship, whether it's at work, at home, or in a intimate relationship, if that relationship usually starts off love bomb, then after you're either married, or if you're not he's not the married type and you're not, after you guys move in, whenever gets that feeling, or she gets that feeling that she's got you, then it's usually about a month thereafter that you start feeling like things aren't right. You start getting icky feeling inside. You start making excuses for him or her. You start, like, you know how you would make excuses for Laura on YouTube, like, everybody just needs to love and pray, and we're just going to pray everybody that curses us, instead of looking at why the curses are coming, instead. Yeah. So, when you start trying to put a Band-Aid on a relationship, that you might want to start doing some research and looking into the fact and understanding what the red flags are. And then the person needs to make, the number one thing is you got to surrender and admit that there's a problem with that person if you're in a relationship and it's dangerous. That's the number one. If it's a different situation, then there's other techniques you can do where you take time and you work it out and get away from that person as quick as possible.
And one thing I want to share too, I'm trying to think if this is the plant. The best, if you need an image to kind of visualize what a narcissist is, and as a insect or something, is think of a Velcro fly. Isn't it a Velcro fly? There's a plant. It looks all beautiful and everything like
that. Oh, Venus flytrap.
Oh, Venus flytrap. Yeah. It's all beautiful at a moment, and you see the little fly come around, and it's like
all sweet and tasty.
Yeah, and the flies like all coming around, and it's kind of checking things out and everything like that, and all of a sudden, wham!
Yeah, telling the fly, I got what you want.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm thinking of is, remember that little weird fish creature in the real dark, the water. It has that little light on it. It tracks those other fish, and then it gets it. And then you got the praying mantis, of course. But we're laughing about it. It's funny, but it's serious. I mean, this is how serious these people are, because the only thing is, the difference is they change themselves. And for those that might say, well, yeah, Sean, you went through Laura Lee, but that's not really so. If you're a victimized, like if you're in a marriage, and you're like, well, Sean, you weren't even with Laura Lee. You're this. Now, I'm going to give you my testimony, how I know about narcissists a little bit. I was married to one, and I'm going to give you some prime examples of it right away. All right, so about 12 years ago, for me, I met someone, and I'm talking about quick response. This person right off the bat, for me, I was always a person that just felt like I just was confident and felt like I needed to go what I'm looking for. And the person I was interested in was not interested in me. So I took it as a challenge. And many guys do that. They take it as a challenge if someone says no or rejection. So it's like, I'm going to turn that around. This person just, thought I was the unattractive joke, make fun of me kind of thing. But in a matter of a month or two, that person turned around and then said that they fell in love with me. And the other thing is, they take the initiative immediately. They will use sexual ways, whichever they can, and they will try to get you to break whatever. Like for me, they'll try to get you to break like any ruling or anything you have. They will use sexual innuendo or anything they need. And this person actually proposed to me and yelled at me when I said no, because I felt uncomfortable. I didn't want to. We're talking in a matter of 3 or 4 months, and the female asked to marry me. I always thought that it was going to be me that would ask the woman and have everything set up. She even picked out the rings and stuff and says, oh, what would be a great plan? Because I was on a youth trip. She went without me knowing. I didn't find out years later. But she went individually to some of these the youth. She wanted to make sure that she was on the trip. This was a trip, a field trip up to Tennessee that was just supposed to be me and the youth. She put herself in there to make sure she could go. And when we went and we were at the hotels and stuff, she tried to get me by myself away from the youth and went to go pick the rings out and went in privately to some of the one. We had a older lady that was in an abusive marriage that was helping with the youth. She was great. She was best friends with my mother. My mother used to help me in the youth ministry and everything like that. My ex-spouse went in to that volunteer, that lady that went through, a lot of drama and abuse, went in there and says that the only reason you're here is because the youth feel sorry for you. And no one really likes you. They just feel sorry for you. So that's there. She went and took the other youth and says, y'all need to leave Sean alone. He needs his privacy. I was there to spend time with the youth. She went to the youth and told them that Sean needs his privacy. He's not available right now, so that she could suck up all the time with me. And like I said, I never knew about any of these things till the youth and the female came clean. Years later, after I separated from my spouse, did I find out about this. Then, after we went to pick the rings up, she arranged for us to go and says, wouldn't it be great if we go back to your hometown where you're from in front of your grandparents and stuff, and you propose to me there? It wasn't even a real proposal. She wanted to have it as a display for everybody to see of my family as me proposing when she proposed a month or so beforehand. And it was a rush marriage because of some rules with her family. Her family's was, messed up with some different stuff like that. So we got in a fast marriage. She said one time, immediately after we got married, that she wanted a baby. She was pregnant within the next month, like right away. She threw me to the couch right away after a month of our marriage. Slept on it since then. It was very verbally abusive. She many times told me how much she hated me, did not like me, all kinds of stuff when we were married. I got sick and was in the hospital for a long time after a surgery and had an issue. She took to the hotel room to use with someone else's money, or actually, I guess it was my money at that time, to throw a big party with her and the family there while I'm in the hospital. And then she went and said to the other family, she told my stepfather, after losing my mother, told my stepfather that was married to her and said that Sean doesn't want you around anymore. Please just don't come around. He says that you're not invited. I find out a year or so later that he tells me that she did that to him. So what she does, she tried to isolate me away from any of my family. And then she moved her entire family in and then talked about how bad of a father I was, that I could never fill my role. I would go to work and I would feel completely like, wow, I got a lot of friends and stuff like that. And I'd come home and feel like I was worthless and that there's no way I could have any friends or anything like that. She constantly accused me that I was cheating, very jealousy, and always doing the chores. Anytime that I had a problem with trying to get her to get a job or a brother, she claimed that I was racist because they were Asians. And so I wanted to share that with all of y'all. That's just part of it. And then money. Oh, man, I can't even tell you money. You already know the story about Laura Lee. Well, this one put over $20,000 on the credit card and stuff. I cut her off and cut her from the bank account and stuff when we got separated, thinking that maybe that would help her get a job. And she refused to. She went to my best friend, and now she gets $4,000 a month from my best friend that I had since 1990. So if you don't think that I don't know about how a narcissist works, I do. And that's why I want to help so much for any of y'all that are victims of this. And the thing is, I'm going to tell you that if you find a narcissist, you'll probably find that other family members in there might be narcissists as well. I'm seeing a lot of patterns in that. In the secular world, we would call it narcissist, but you call it a Jezebel, Christian community. And the reason I want to share that with you is because these spirits can jump. They're highly influenced, because if a Jezebel works one way, you might see the influence of a Jezebel start working in another one, or possibly Ahab, because that's what happened to me. That I didn't know if I had that or not, but I still had the influence of, whether it was Laura when I was with her, or, when I was with my ex-spouse, she put a wedge between my mother and I. Me and my mother were best friends. She helped me in the ministry. And when she came in, she talked about how evil my mother was and doing things in the back and was in something. She convinced me that my own mother was involved with witchcraft. And she refused to allow me to even let my mother see the birth of my son at the hospital until she gave me the word and says, you can allow your mom to come see your son's birth. My mother was devastated. And the thing was that the ending was my mother was dying from cancer. And here I was, still not in a good relationship with my mother or my stepdad at the moment, until it came to when she died. We were there at the hospice, and I wanted my mother to, believe in healing and for her to heal. And I had a big fight with my ex-spouse. And when I got home after my mother died and it was the next day, the day after the fight, to tell my ex-spouse that my mother passed away, my ex-spouse said, you know what, I can't even grieve right now. Because of our fight last night, it's because of you. I can't even grieve for your own mother dying. And that was the one time I stood up and says, you know what, my mother just died, and I am not going to talk about this now. But just even that housing arrangement, because she had the family live with us, she got the master bedroom, of course. Her brother got the other big room. She made sure that my son slept with her for the longest time. Almost till he was like 5 or 6 years old. Not even to sleep in his own room. And I got this small room, and then they would always put all the storage stuff into my room, so that really there wasn't much I could move in a room. That's how much she cared about me. And that's what she said. She told me right before our separation, because I asked her, and she says, first my son comes, and then my family, and then you come. That was the order that she thought of where I was in her life. That's a narcissist behavior, because you are nothing. And also, I want to tell you that are victimizing this. You're going to feel this need that maybe if you do a little bit of this, or maybe if you do more cleaning, or maybe if you go get a gift or whatever, that maybe you're looking, because you've been with other people in the past where you do something good for them that you get a reward. They're like, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You will not get this out of a narcissist. You're not going to get it. If you go and do something extra and you go out of your way to help this person, you're not going to get a reward. And if you're a child in that family, you probably recognize this if they're your parents, because nothing is ever enough. Ever. It won't ever be enough. And they might use religion or anything or something to put you down. They're going to call you a hypocrite. I was a minister at the time. And my ex told me, how could I be up there preaching and saying something, and says, aren't you just a hypocrite for doing it? And understand that ministers or anyone that preaches, we're preaching to ourselves, because we're weakness ourselves. Just like comedians get up on stage and they talk about certain situations or whatever, it's because they see it around them, and they're victimized of itself. They're teaching, we're all teaching things that we all can learn the same thing. But to a narcissist, it's, how can you be talking about something like that? Because you're supposed to be golden. That's a hypocrite. My ex-spouse told me that the reason she married me was because she thought I was going to be rich. Because in Korea, ministers make lots of money. So she saw that how the youth was growing where I was at the church, and she thought that 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 the ministry, that my ministry, I guess, so the youth ministry would grow, and that I would become wealthy. Little as you know, in America, that most ministers don't really make money, especially if you're just living off of tithe money. So anyway, that was the reason she said she married me. And the last example I'll give you, just to show you how a narcissist can be, is that cancer ran in my family. And I was pretty sure that I remember sharing that with my ex-spouse, that, family members on my mom's sides have died, and I had a genetic, it was genetic in me. And we already had our son and everything like that. But when she found out that mom had cancer, and that I need to go to a doctor, she says, "I will never forgive you ever, because you never told me. How can we even have kids? How could we have kids and you allowed us to have kids? Do you not even care? How could you even do this? You don't even care about your child." Assuming that's what I thought, because I allowed us to have a child because cancer in my family. One thing that you'll realize if you're in a narcissist situation, that they have they can have memories good, but they can't remember, or they claim they don't remember things. So if you're with them on a narcissist, make sure if it's a text message or something that you have a copy and paste for that, what they say, and you can revert it back to them and say, well, you said this, because they will always turn everything around back on you and make you look like they never said it and you said something different or crazy and all of that. They will do that. That is one of the major number one things that they will do. And you will absolutely think you're losing your mind. You will think that you're losing your memory and something's wrong with you. That is their job, is to weaken you. To weak you, suck. The thing is, they don't care about you. They look at you as only an agenda to get to their next place. They're worthless, whether it's a relationship or anything, and they will use sex as the primary thing. They will do anything they do to get out of their way. They will not be faithful. They're not faithful for anything in their life.
Well, I'd like to add that keep and record everything that's happening. If in your life you have a suspect, you start feeling an icky feeling inside. If you're not, things aren't not measuring up like they were, he's not or she's not like she used to be, kind of stuff. And the reason you keep record is so that way you can use it to your benefit, so you know that you're not losing your mind, and in case you need to use it for exposure or legal matters, depending on how the severity or the situation of the situation. That's a very good idea.
Now, a praise report for those that are concerned about me saying about my son or about genetics in there. We got my son tested years ago. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, genetic testing, and he's passed. He's the first of the family, so he's completely clean on his DNA and everything. So he does not have the family thing in the past or anything like that. Whether it's true or not, because I've never been a big believer in all of that stuff, but you can always change it and stuff like that.
But that was the scenario that was being discussed at the time, huh?
Right, but that was absolutely proven. He went through, and we got the testing on him, and he's fine.
Okay, I would like to add that, narcissists come in a lot of different, just like you were saying, predators, right? Predators come in all different shapes and sizes, and sometimes a predator can come looking like a lamb and end up like a wolf. Sometimes, because a lot of people are attracted to strength and people that are sure of themselves. They speak like they know what they're talking about. They have confidence. We can do this. Come on, let's do that. I know what I'm doing. Nobody knows politics like I do. Nobody knows religion like I do. Nobody does it better, right? So there's that type, which are more like a lion. They're proud. They walk around, and unfortunately, there's those people that just are attracted to leader types because they feel a sense of family or attachment. Because we're like dogs go in packs, right? We're always trying to pack up somewhere. It's natural. But then you have some predators, like you said, like the Venus flytrap. They look beautiful, completely harmless, docile. It's a plant. It's just natural and wow, this feels good. Yes, let's get married. I'm doing the right thing, and bam! It don't take very long, does it, Sean?
Nope, not at all.
So, and I'd like to say to Christians that I know that when Christians get married, because even though I was in the world, I was a believer. And when I got married, I made a promise to God, and I did not take that lightly. But to look back now, I should have ran in the opposite direction as soon as I knew something was wrong. And like this one lady says, the one thing you cannot retrieve is time. So don't waste your time trying to, like Sean said, trying to fix somebody. If you're, like I said, if you're already at that point where you're trying to put band-aids and trying to lift up your partner, you best start researching and get making plans towards exit.
Hey, Rose, let me add something right quick about my situation that happened. I guess when we were talking about the Venus flytrap and stuff. All right. So, other thing I wanted to share is before I got married, when I got rededicated in my life, I believed that I didn't want to do sex until marriage. So, starting from 2001, I guess, when I got rededicated, and I met my spouse back in 2004. Um, and the thing was is that and that was the second time in my life that I was going to wait till marriage, because I had a relationship that I went with 4 or 5 years where we didn't believe in sex until marriage. So this is the second one I was doing, rededicating my life. Also, I had dreams warning me. So you probably, if you're not in a relationship with them yet, if you're a child of God, he's probably going to give you signs and warnings, and you best to listen to him. I didn't. I even had my mom and all of them warn me about dating my ex.
Well,
But
there are
anyway,
red flags, and there are ways that you can test a person that you're dating. So we could touch a little bit on that. Um,
yeah.
what you
Um,
can do is when you're dating somebody at first, and it seems like, oh, just love bombing, tell them no.
yeah,
Dis,
definitely
dis,
no.
disagree with a someone every once in a while, and
Yeah.
stand your ground. Just say,
So
no, I
now
don't think so, not this time.
what happened with me is when we started dating, there was this one time I know that we were in a car and she made moves. She knew that I was waiting to marriage and stuff. But what she kept saying is, oh, come on, we'll just do a little bit of petting, or we'll do this or doing that. And, just, whichever. So I won't go in details on it. But to do that temptation, that's what, and I even had a dream warning me about probably being a guy too, or at least me there, that and someone holding off for like 4 or 5 years or something, that I uh, gave in to a little bit of temptation. Now we did not. Now the good thing is that we did not have sex until marriage. It was after the wedding that we did and stuff. So we held off of that, but it was with me saying that I was going to keep that, even though she said how ridiculously stupid that was and all of this different stuff there. And, yeah, anyway, so I just want to remind that they will take that, and they will not respect your boundaries at all.
Well,
You know,
sexual perversion and lascivious is also another characteristic of a narcissist. When they have no feelings, no compassion, soulless, demonic filled people, what happens is, you know, they don't care. So, you know, they
Yeah,
don't have
they don't respect you. They're not. You are a prey to them, and that's all you are. And I'm sorry to say
sex.
it. I know it can
Sex
feel
is a
offensive
tool.
to
That's what I was gonna
people.
say.
Yeah, right, right. It's a tool. It's just another something else they use. And I'm telling you, in our society, we find a lot of that stuff going on now. I mean, there's many times you'll find ones that even, you know, if you're a teenager and you're like 17 or 18, if you get with a girlfriend and she wants to hurry to have sex because the moment she starts speaking, she wants to have a family immediately and stuff. And I warn any kid, you know, if you're thinking about a career and you wanting to, you know, go to college or be alone or something, don't get involved with a woman that wants a family immediately right there, because you know, she's immediately probably thinking about trying to have sex in order to get a baby really quick, and then that ties you down to where you
Well,
go. And
what I've told my children is, you know, that to when you meet somebody, find out if they loved their parents, the people that raised
yes,
them. If they have a healthy relationship with their mom and their dad, you know, if it's somebody that hates their mom, they're going to make a lousy husband. If you know,
that's very
if
true.
they're a woman that hates their father, they're not going to make a very good wife, because
Yes.
that's all they're going to know. And every cell in the body has memory. So we have to remember that. That's why God says to turn away from temptation, because the cells in our body remember and fall for temptation. But if we turn away from it, God blesses us and removes it from us. I'm living proof
Yes.
of that. So
Right.
the person that is, if you're a person that is struggling, in trouble, you had it, you know, you have to come to, and only you can do this. You have to come to a point where you're done, and you have to surrender to the fact that this person is evil and abusive for you. You have to accept it and label them so that you don't go back, because the number one thing a narcissist does and loves to do is play the victim. And that's how they who suck you back in.
You know what, Rose? I want to add something else to you. You said a good point, and this going to be outside of narcissism, but you know, but you said abuse. And the thing is my key that I want to tell people about is if you're wanting to get in a relationship with someone, not only is it about abuse of others, so if they're bad treatment to their parents and don't respect their parents, one thing, but even if they abuse themselves, it's not a good idea. And I'll explain why. Because if they're down on themselves or cutting themselves down or all of that, and if you're a confident person and saying, I know it, I'm just saying is one thing to be a friend with someone and help, but when sometimes you're going to find people that are abusive to themselves, they're going to drag you down and drown you with them.
Well,
And
unfortunately,
I
narcissists come along. Well, not that you're speaking of narcissists, but for narcissists, they come along with a mask. They have
yeah,
this
true.
mask, and they
Yeah,
they they mirror who you are, or who they believe you want in a person, and that's how
that
that rocks.
that's very true. And you know what? And I'll share something with y'all. Someone I just met recently. I've met supposedly I thought is a friend just a week or so ago, and the person started sharing with me about their narcissist family and people they're involved with. A lot of it. But as I spend time and I talked with this person a little bit, I started seeing some flags up immediately because I started seeing patterns. One thing was seeing pictures of this person. First off, the first thing I noticed was there was a lot of eyes. You know, like I did this. And the other thing is, and I noticed that all narcissists is they're always complaining about other people around them. They're never everybody. If everybody else could do a thing, and I noticed that this person's started talking. It was like it was starting to drown me immediately, because I was starting to hear there was nothing positive that this person ever could say about anybody else around them. And I'm like, okay, there's the second flag. Third flag, I started noticing this, brought up pictures to show like how bad the place looked that they were staying at, but then how involved and how great in cleaning she could. Why did I need to see pictures of how good of a job that she cleaned and then how bad it would be 20 minutes later? It was a victim card. So
If I could interject, I would like to say that's why it is so vital for people that are suffering right now to come to the understanding that even though you're suffering and you feel like you are dying, you know, or you feel like you'd be better off dead or whatever, you know, totally destitute, this experience is to bless you in the future so that you don't make these mistakes again, so you can see these red flags coming. And now Sean is able to do that because of what he's experienced in the past. So don't think that it's something that you are being cursed with. It is something you are experiencing. Yes, they were your bad decisions. Pick up your responsibility, you know, ask for, you know, forgive yourself, and surrender the fact that you're in love with somebody that is abusive, and label them, and then start, you know, taking steps to get out of that situation at any cost, because narcissist, psychopath, demonic-filled Jezebels, and you know, sociopaths will destroy everything and everyone in their path with their money, their relationships, their you know, body, mind, and soul, brother. They're there to completely, absolutely destroy you and devour you. And you're thinking, oh, I love them, you know, and so it's a hard little flip to do. And sometimes, you know, we think we love, you know, something, but once you snap out of the spiritual coma that you have been in from the abuse, then you realize that you hate those things that you did at one time loved. And you would never, ever go back to that again. But while you're experiencing it, while you're suffering and still addicted or still under the spell of this person, you're going to feel like, oh, I love them. Maybe I can fix them, like Sean said. But the truth is all you're doing is wasting precious time. Especially if you're listening to this, that maybe that's God telling you, hey, time, you know, there's a lot of support out there, and that's all you need when you're at fall. You know, and everybody slips. We all slip and fall. We all fall short of the glory of God. You know, if you're a secular person, then, you know, we all make mistakes. But I feel they're bad decisions, and we receive lessons, experience, and wisdom, and blessings.
Right.